It's not for us to have shame. It's for them.
I will say one thing that is going to be hard here is that a lot of these things are going to be shielded by privilege.
Ryan Reynolds is blown out after Blake Lively's newest scandal got exposed, and honestly, who can blame him? After getting into the public eye for throwing a fake lawsuit at Justin Baldoni, Blake is now in rumors of getting together with Stephanie Jones.
Lies. You weren't even nude. You are a liar.
Blake has managed to entangle herself in every mess imaginable, and Ryan doesn't really like it.
Fails to mention Blake at the summit as he swerves these questions about the negative headlines.
What's the deal with Ryan Reynolds looking sharp and solo at the Time 100 summit? Like, where's the Blake Lively fanfare parade? Everyone was expecting some red carpet PDA, maybe a cheeky joke about their parenting chaos. Instead, we got Ryan, alone.
He didn't actually say anything about Blake Lively.
And not a single mention of his better half.
But let's hear his response.
You know, no, it's like Tina Fey says, if you're feeling good about yourself, just go online. You know.
I mean, that's true, but...
Yep, the man known for witty quips and charming one-liners was unusually mum about Blake. The internet, as you can imagine, lost its collective mind.
I didn't become my career was an aggregate. It was very slow, so I didn't have that like overnight success.
It gets weirder. Blake wasn't just a potential +1. She was literally on the Time 100 list. You know, that prestigious collection of people who make the rest of us look lazy.
Stephanie was in the midst of a mental breakdown, which I would be offended too if one of my coworkers was trying to say that I was drinking and gambling because it's so far from who I am. Like, maybe get your money back from your psychic.
She was officially one of the most influential people of 2020, yet she skipped the one event where everyone would bow down to her greatness. Feels a little off, right? Like buying concert tickets for your favorite band and then the lead singer doesn't show up.
This is something they reiterate a lot. We disagree, here's why, but worst case scenario, if we lose, we are allowed legally to go make an amendment, and we should at least be doing that.
Cue the rumor mill. Are they separating? Did Ryan misplace her on the way out?
Here's Ryan Reynolds giving a pep talk to Blake before she's about to give her speech. Look at how cute they are. Oh, he's such a perfect man. Oh.
Some are convinced there's a giant neon divorce sign blinking behind closed doors.
I'm like uncomfortable. I'm visibly uncomfortable watching them sort of force themselves to events. So
add to that Ryan's complete refusal to even mention Blake during his summit appearance, and you've got a full-blown speculation circus. Not even a sly joke or she's at home with the kids comment. It was like Blake didn't exist.
I never harassed her a single day. She's a psychopath, and she's made this stuff up. She's making this stuff up because she wanted to wrest control of the movie away from me.
And then there was Megyn Kelly. She decided to take a flamethrower to Blake's image by suggesting that her lawsuits and legal drama are nothing more than a twisted way to exploit the #MeToo movement. Never heard of it. Kelly's hot take sent shockwaves, with some people gasping in disbelief and others nodding like maybe she's onto something.
Once again, Mark, the problem is her allegations in her complaint do not seem to match up with not just what Justin's saying, but with what independent people who have no axe to grind with Blake Lively are saying.
But here's the kicker. Kelly's comment came at the perfect time to pour gasoline on the "Where's Blake?" fire. Now, everyone's looking at her absence not just as a personal choice, but as part of some shadowy PR chess game.
It seems like this company, Van Zandt, tried to go and gather evidence against Justin Baldoni before this lawsuit was properly filed.
But that's all because Blake Lively's newest scandal has come to the surface, and that's Van Zandt. It's the corporate thriller we didn't know we signed up for. You might think this is your run-of-the-mill business drama, but no. Van Zandt is giving us all the plot twists. It starts way back in 2008, when some shady Delaware filings popped up. Then, by 2010, California courts were swimming in lawsuits against the company. Enter Eric Rothschild, a man with more aliases than a Marvel villain. He's allegedly behind some sketchy moves, dodging legal trouble like it's an Olympic sport.
will tell you you do not file a complaint if you don't know the name of the person that you are suing, unless you're trying to protect that person's identity for some reason, which if you're pissed off enough to sue them, you probably don't care about their identity.
Fast forward to Ryan and Blake stepping into the scene. They reportedly took over the Vanzan LLC after it went inactive, which is where things start smelling fishy. Did they think no one would notice? Well, they were wrong, because TikTok sleuths are now running the show.
This website seems to be associated with their company, Vanzan, which is associated with the potentially fraudulent lawsuit that was filed last year that may have been filed to potentially skirt the legal process and obtain certain communications that I believe Blake Lively and others wanted in connection with the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively saga.
Apparently, a second Vanzan Inc. mysteriously appeared in 2019, and people are calling it a classic shell game move. Corporate drama meets true crime vibes. It's Netflix series material, honestly.
Wallace accuses Blake of falsely lumping his firm into the allegations she made against Baldoni.
And let's not forget the lawsuits. The lawsuits in which Ryan and Blake are knee-deep in allegations ranging from financial misconduct to toxic workplace claims. It's like someone took a corporate crime handbook and decided to tick off every chapter. People are questioning how much Ryan and Blake knew about the company's shady past and whether they willingly jumped into murky waters for profit. Suddenly, that picture-perfect Hollywood couple image looks a little tarnished.
Abel's new filing also accused Jones of making bizarre claims about Abel to her staff based on supposed information from psychic readings.
But wait, it gets juicier. Eric Rothschild, the OG puppet master of Vanzan, has been accused of using different identities to weasel out of accountability. And here's where it gets surreal. Rothschild's ties to the company didn't just fade into the background after Ryan and Blake took over. Some are whispering that he's still pulling strings, using the couple as a Hollywood smokescreen. If true, this might be the biggest case of celebrity distraction tactics we've seen in a while. Now, mix all of this corporate chaos with the fact that Blake is battling lawsuits on all fronts, and you start to see why her absence at Time 100 events feels like more than just a scheduling conflict. Is she avoiding the public eye because she's strategizing her next legal move? Or is this all one big PR play to keep the spotlight on Ryan while Blake navigates the storm?
Yeah, I think we've noticed over the past couple of weeks even there have been a few clips that have come out of the woodwork essentially about Ryan that sleuths have found with some kind of problematic moments. And then there's also been the whole kid pool controversy, which definitely doesn't make him look great either.
And poor Ryan. The guy just wanted to attend a fancy summit, look good in a suit, and crack a few jokes.
In now junkets, and he can claim jokes or whatever, but to pull random quotes of Justin talking about his teenage years and his growth and maturity and to try to use against him to label him a predator, which none of the quotes did. I actually applaud them for, even though they're not supposed to do it, for making the point to be like, nice try, Reynolds, you have your own quotes.
Instead, he's walking into a media frenzy, with everyone dissecting his every move and word. And that's why Ryan is in a complete meltdown after another scandal involving Blake comes to the surface.
Red flag number 2, the context of the complaint are almost nil. There's really, it's like there's no really actual facts.
So what's next for this saga? More lawsuits, a tell-all interview, a plot twist where Rothschild turns out to be a secret agent? At this point, anything's possible. All we know is that the Reynolds Lively empire isn't as squeaky clean as it once seemed, and the drama isn't slowing down anytime soon. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.
So by talking to some other folks, I've learned that there was a confidentiality agreement between Stephanie Jones and Baldoni.
Let's talk about workplace drama so juicy it makes reality TV look tame. Enter Stephanie Jones and Jennifer Ale, two names locked in a legal smackdown so bizarre, you'd think Shonda Rhimes scripted it.
If she were to voluntarily give internal communications between Stephanie Jones and Baldoni to a third party, regardless of the purpose of whether being asked for, that would be a violation of that confidentiality agreement.
Jennifer accuses Stephanie of stealing data and being, well, an absolute nightmare to work with. And when I say nightmare, I don't mean the kind where you show up to work in your pajamas. I mean psychic predictions, public humiliation, and a playlist so loud it probably violated noise ordinances.
Baldoni, 41's movie company Wayfair, and his publicist for It Ends With Us, for the film It Ends With Us, Jennifer Abel, both filed new claims, including a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, breach of contract, defamation, and fraud against Jones.
Apparently, Stephanie wasn't just managing the team. She was moonlighting as a psychic, predicting doom and gloom for Jennifer in front of everyone.
They accused Jones of snooping on Abel's private messages all the way up until January of this year. Yes, guys, January of 2025.
But Jennifer wasn't about to let Stephanie's psychic hotline act slide. She fired back with a lawsuit citing the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Now, if you thought that was dramatic, buckle up, because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are allegedly dabbling in a bit of fraud themselves. Yep, Mr. and Mrs. Hollywood Perfect might have a few skeletons rattling around their walk-in closet.
Yeah, this whole thing is just shocking to me. It's shocking to me how they're now part of the Time 100 of this year as a Titan for a donation they made that they were using to cover their own racistness.
Let's start with Blake's anti-trafficking charity, which some people claim might be less about saving the world and more about saving face.
Because she got married on a plantation. Now, her and Ryan Reynolds have gone out there and tried to combat this narrative. They've been out there a while now, apologizing for the plantation wedding. What we saw at the time was a wedding venue on Pinterest. What we saw after was a place built upon devastating tragedy.
There are whispers that the charity is a shell company, designed to look noble on the outside while hiding some shady dealings underneath. And here's where it gets extra weird. Articles about the charity have mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind nothing but broken links and conspiracy theories. It's like the internet decided to ghost them. And then there's the Van Zandt connection. Remember that corporate enigma we talked about earlier? Turns out Van Zandt might be linked to another company called Response Makers, which, spoiler alert, is not winning any awards for ethical business practices. People are digging up receipts that suggest shady dealings between these entities, with Blake and Ryan allegedly smack in the middle of it all.
It's wild how she is tripling down and continuing to try to paint herself as a victim, as now the actual witnesses are coming forward and be like, no, nice try, girl. Not anymore. I can't sit back in silence. I gotta defend Justin, and I gotta defend myself.
But wait, there's more. Amid the Justin Baldoni lawsuit, there are accusations that Blake and Ryan have been playing legal chess, using corporate entities to sidestep accountability. It's like Monopoly, but they're allegedly buying loopholes instead of buying Boardwalk. And while they're out here dodging legal bullets, the rest of us are just trying to figure out how to not get charged extra for guac at Chipotle.
With lawyers launching 14 new claims against his embattled former publicist, Stephanie Jones, on Thursday.
Let's dive headfirst into the train wreck that is the Stephanie Jones versus Jennifer Ale saga, which somehow involves psychic predictions, fertility struggles, and Hollywood's favorite power couple, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I promise this will be as messy as it sounds, so buckle up. First off, let's talk about Stephanie Jones and her reliable psychic abilities. Not that anyone asked for them. So, here's how it goes. Stephanie, known for being a strong leader, decided that what Jennifer Ale needed in her life was a good old-fashioned psychic reading. And what did Stephanie predict? That Jennifer was going to have twins. Twins people. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a bit odd, but maybe Stephanie just has a gift or something. Well, here's where it gets awkward. Jennifer wasn't pregnant. She wasn't planning to be either. In fact, Jennifer was privately battling fertility issues. Super personal stuff, right? But did that stop Stephanie? No. In fact, she just casually dropped this little bombshell of a prediction like it was no big deal. Hey Jennifer, looks like you're gonna have twins soon. How could she know? Well, she didn't. She was just digging her own grave. But hold your horses. This is where the real drama starts.
Now here Friedman is quoted in TMZ. Let's look at what he said. Mr. Reynolds' exploitation of his enormous power in Hollywood continues, this time arrogantly asking to be dismissed from the case despite his publicly documented involvement extending far beyond just being a supportive spouse.
I'm speechless!
We name it, we change it. Just as our fellow Time 100 honoree, the incredible Giselle Pellicot, put it to every woman who understood, It's not for us to have shame.
Enter Blake Lively, Hollywood's darling who, as we all know, is usually the picture of grace, poise, and seemingly perfect life moments with Ryan Reynolds. But of course, she's now wrapped up in this mess too. Why? Because her connection to Stephanie Jones made the whole situation look even worse.
I felt like it was very aggressive, I agree, and I can't fault somebody for wanting to stick up for their partner, but there were parts of it as I was reading it, I couldn't help but feel like it was a bit petty.
All hell broke loose. She claims he sexual harassed her, and then by the time they premiered the movie, they weren't even speaking to each other. She made him stay in the basement, and Ryan Reynolds turned on him too. And then she claimed that he unleashed a bad PR campaign against her.
And if anyone knows anything about Hollywood, it's that being associated with scandal is never a good look. Blake, who has worked so hard to build her public persona, now found herself being questioned left and right. People couldn't help but wonder, why on earth was Blake hanging around someone like Stephanie? The psychic predictions were already bad enough, but now Blake's judgment was in question too. The internet didn't let up. Fans were calling her out, wondering if Blake had any idea what kind of chaos Stephanie was causing behind the scenes. This wasn't a light scandal. This was getting personal.
That's right, Billy. And our client, Stephanie Jones, has found herself in the middle of a lot of speculation in the media recently.
She's here because there were real contractual breaches. There was a contractual breach by her former employee, Jennifer Abel, but there are also contractual breaches by Wayfair and by Justin Baldoni.
But wait, there's more. As if this couldn't get worse, it turns out that Stephanie's behavior wasn't the only thing under fire. Let's talk about what's been going on behind the scenes with the company Vanzen, the shady organization that's somehow become a part of this whole mess. Vanzen, which already had some seriously questionable origins, was already a bit of a mystery in Hollywood circles. But when Blake and Ryan were linked to it, people's suspicions went through the roof. Vanzen's business dealings were shady enough that people started questioning whether it was just a front for something more nefarious. I mean, who knew that corporate shell games were in the mix? Was it really a legitimate business, or was it a front for something far less innocent? And then things got wild. People started pointing fingers at Blake and Ryan, speculating that they were using Vanzen to skirt legal accountability in the Justin Baldoni lawsuit.
Why is Van Zandt being included into a lawsuit that Van Zandt has zero connection to the movie, to the production, to anyone? So it's really just like a random character being added into the mix, but why?
If that wasn't eyebrow-raising enough, enter a TikToker who decided to uncover more about Vanzen and its connections. What did this TikToker discover? Well, let's just say it wasn't good news for Blake and Ryan. Vanzen had ties to some seriously unsavory companies, and now the public was getting a front row seat to all the shady dealings that were going down. Nothing says trustworthy like a few secret companies, right? Meanwhile, Stephanie's predictions and behavior were getting even weirder. After publicly predicting Jennifer's twin pregnancy, she found herself accused of workplace harassment, and not just the usual mean boss stuff. No, Stephanie took it a step further. She was allegedly retaining access to Jennifer's iCloud and sharing private texts with other employees. So basically, not only was she crossing boundaries on a professional level, but she was also creeping into Jennifer's personal life. Talk about toxic work environments. It was like a drama series in real life. And spoiler alert, it wasn't a good one.
After Lively and Baldoni's legal team exploded into the courts in December, Jones issued her former staffer, Abel, in January, claiming that Abel plotted behind her back to steal Baldoni as a client and falsely pinned an alleged smear campaign against Lively and Jones.
But wait, this isn't over yet. Stephanie didn't just leave it at bad predictions and snooping into personal data. Her management style was a whole other issue. Reports from employees started flooding in, detailing a toxic workplace culture. And by toxic, I mean there were complaints about deafening music blaring in the office and Stephanie berating employees like it was her favorite pastime. Tears in the office? You bet. So much for empowerment. Now, as things continue to spiral out of control, Jennifer has taken the legal route, citing the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in her counterstrike. Looks like someone's ready to fight back. And trust me, it's not going to be pretty for Stephanie.
Now, here Friedman is quoted in TMZ. Let's look at what he said. Mr. Reynolds' exploitation of his enormous power in Hollywood continues, this time arrogantly asking to be dismissed from the case despite his publicly documented involvement, extending far beyond just being a supportive spouse.
And with all this, Ryan Reynolds is officially hitting his breaking point. And trust me, it's not just because of the endless stream of scandals.
I cannot get into the layers of how that is exactly how bullies operate.
So let's talk about his uncharacteristic silence at the Time 100 summit. For someone who's usually the king of charm, Ryan was basically the definition of radio silence. He showed up, did the whole, "Oh, I'm so proud of my wife" thing, and then nothing.
That he's making quotes that we have here saying that he's too big to fail at this point, and he just crushes his enemies and drinks their blood.
No funny quips, no classic Ryan Reynolds sarcasm, just a whole lot of nothing. Was he avoiding the spotlight, or was he just done with the circus? Body language experts, of course, had a field day with this one. They couldn't help but dissect Ryan's every move like they were some sort of emotional detectives. Was that clenched jaw a sign of frustration? Did his posture suggest tension?
So he can claim jokes or whatever, but to pull random quotes of Justin talking about his teenage years and his growth and maturity and to try to use against him to label him a predator, which none of the quotes did, I actually applaud them for, even though they're not supposed to do it, for making the point to be like, nice try, Reynolds. You have your own quotes.
Apparently, we're now analyzing Ryan's every twitch. But let's face it, if there's anyone who can keep their emotions hidden behind a smirk, it's Ryan Reynolds. Still, you can't ignore the fact that his demeanor was off. Way off. And when you've got an entire gossiping world scrutinizing every inch of your body language, it might be a sign that something's not quite right.
This is the latest filing. This is in response to Ryan's very petty and sassy response that it felt like he clearly wrote, since it had pop culture references, which Kim and I noticed. Burn Book mentions. Like,
Yeah.
come on, Ryan. That's clearly.
You know, when
you
Mean
wrote
Girls
that.
comes into the filing, it's legit.
And then, just when you think this soap opera couldn't get juicier, reports started to trickle in about Ryan and Blake living separately. You know, that classic sign that things in paradise might not be as perfect as we once thought. Now, don't get me wrong. Celebrities are busy people. They probably don't want to be stuck in each other's faces 24/7.
Yeah, I think we've noticed over the past couple of weeks even there have been a few clips that have come out of the woodwork essentially about Ryan that sleuths have found with some kind of problematic moments. And then there's also been the whole kid pool controversy, which definitely doesn't make him look great either.
But when the gossip mill starts churning with whispers about separate houses, you gotta wonder, is this the beginning of the end? Could Ryan and Blake be on the verge of calling it quits, or are we just witnessing the world's most awkward phase of a marriage? Maybe they've just grown tired of each other's Netflix suggestions. Who knows?
And they clearly ignored it. In fact, Blake has a history of romanticizing the Deep South with her weird blueberry muffins that she did. Like, she has a history of weird kind of racist things.
But let's zoom out here, because all this personal drama is just a tiny glimpse of the much bigger picture. Hollywood, as we've seen, is basically one giant dumpster fire of corporate shell games, toxic workplaces, and lawsuits. I mean, it's like the land of broken dreams, except the dreams here involve money, power, and keeping your secrets hidden. Blake and Ryan are just the latest golden couple to get caught up in all the messiness. Their scandals, especially the corporate chaos surrounding Vanzan and all the shady dealings, highlight something much darker happening behind the scenes in Tinseltown.
You didn't say those specific things, and so just as a form of pleading, you didn't plead it properly. And so that was their argument.
Hollywood isn't just about glamorous red carpets and cute selfies. No, it's also about shady business moves, sneaky corporate structures, and keeping everything under wraps as long as possible.
The way that he has painted this does not really help the case when it comes to defamation. It's a very interesting argument. I will be very interested to see how the judge rules on this.
But now, thanks to TikTok detectives, whistleblowers, and a few brave souls willing to pull back the curtain, all that glittering gold is slowly being revealed for what it really is: a web of deceit, manipulation, and major power struggles. The cracks are starting to show. And if Ryan and Blake's issues have taught us anything, It's that Hollywood's elite circles are way messier than we ever imagined.
Blake seems to be investing more when it comes to doing the heavy lifting of looking happy and amiable. It could be the pressure of to visually deny the rumors of some kind of a rift that is causing their unrelaxed looking poses, but they're not seeming to project any sense of easygoing relationship here.
Now, what does this mean for Blake, Ryan, and their brand? Well, it's hard to say. They've been through a lot, but the public doesn't forget easily. As their private lives become increasingly public, their brand could suffer, no matter how many adorable family photos they post. Their carefully constructed, perfect couple image is starting to look more like a carefully constructed facade. The question is, can they come back from this? Will they be able to restore their golden status? Or is this the beginning of the fall of a Hollywood dynasty? We'll just have to wait and see. Hit like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates because this feud is far from over.